back to Ben. Churches. How many people are here? Roughly. Can't hear. Can't hear. That's better. 160 people. We got fat ones. We got tall ones. We got scrawny ones. We got muscly ones with a little round putty. We got deaf ones. We got black ones. We got brown ones. We got white ones. We got Chinese. We got Japanese. We got Maori. We got Ethiopian. We got all these different people here. If this is a church, when you go to this church, they might be a Pentecostal church. And who's been to a Pentecostal church? So you go into a Pentecostal church, and when you walk in there, if you've never been to church before, they're going, what are you doing down there on the ground? Or they're jumping up and down, and they're like, and they get their hands behind each other like that, and they do this train, and they're just riding around the church. Mate, if I walked into a church like that the first time I go to church, mate, I'll have smoke on my feet. I'll be out of there. And that's just not me. And definitely not me. Pentecostal. Another one, it could be a motto. There's one there, the church for people who don't like church. You go in and there's like a couple of thousand people. You get lost in the crowd. You don't stand out. And then they got this band on the stage and they do all these songs and you get like that for half an hour. I think, man, doesn't his face get sore? But some people really like that type of church. And the bloke gives this wisdom and puts out this 3-point thing and you think, yeah, this is pretty cool. Charismatic church, Pentecostal church. And then you go to this other one, right? And it's just like you rock up and it's dead quiet. You're walking in and everyone's tiptoeing. I'm not going to say the denomination because I get myself in trouble. And then you sit in the pews and you wait and this bloke walks out with this big robe. And he's got this little cup and this bit of plonk and this wafer. And everyone's quiet. And then he gets a book and he reads the sermon from the book. And he does this thing like that. And we all line up, we go up and we grab the cracker and we walk out again. It's another church. We'll just call it another church. Then we go out to this. I can't say names of churches, but let's say the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Let's say the Churches of Christ Church. Let's say the Baptist Church. Let's say the Anglican Church. Let's say the Protestant Church. Let's say the Catholic Church. Let's say the Free Reformed Church. Let's say the Non-Reformed Church. Anyone else got any more churches for me? I reckon if the Church of God was like Hungry Jack's, you'd be chockers. Because if we all go to Hungry Jack's, I went there with Gavin the other day, and I ordered a Whopper double beef with cheese, have mayonnaise, add ketchup, extra pickle please, fresh burger. And if they cook it like that and you get a fresh burger, you always get consistency. If you don't say fresh burger, you could get one that's been sitting in that hot box, and when you get it, it's just like there's more fat in the bun. You could squeeze the bun and get a cup of juice out of it. Who's had one of them? Always say fresh burger. Anyway, back to this. These different churches, they're spread all across Australia, but we live in Western Australia. Who's from Armidale? Who's from Methandra? Who's from Fremantle? Who's from Joondalup? Who's from Perth City? Who's from Waipu? It's in New Zealand. Who's from Inaloo? That's in Perth. I know people who've moved from Waipu to Inaloo. It's a joke. All these churches, you go to these churches, and each one does it differently. Some have the cracker, some have the big band, some have the slow songs, some have a hymn book. All of you people, you're from all over Perth, you're from all these different backgrounds. I mean, if I'm trying to push you towards a cult or religion, I'd be pushing towards my way of worship, my way of church, my way. But because you're all different, you think different, you speak different, you act different. Some of you like Hungry Jack's, some of you like Chicken Treat, some of you like Nando's, some of you like McDonald's, God forbid. And so we got to go all these different churches. And my hope is that through the course of your stay here at Shalom over that 12 months, that you won't become religious. You know what I mean? But all of these things have one thing in common, all these groups, and that's Jesus Christ. JC, the big GC. I know that you're not just a fart in the wind, that when you die, there is a heaven and there is a hell. I got nuked, mate, I'm telling you, he's real. But it's not my job to push what I believe down on you. But we're going to go to these different churches, and some of you might like an Anglican church. I mean, I've got lots of people who like the Pentecostal church. They like the speaking in tongues and the gifts and the looseness and the freedom of the worship, and you know, and they like the churches of Christ. They like the Baptist, they like the Catholic, they like the Anglican, they like the Protestant. I mean, I'm not here to judge and say which church is doing it right, because as far as I'm concerned, they're all doing it right. But all of these are parts of the body of Christ, and they cater for all people's different personalities. And so you might go to a Pentecostal church, and just because you don't like it, there's 15 other people with you who do like it. And so don't complain about that church, because these other 50 people got a lot out of it. And when the following way, you go to a church and you'll get a lot out of it, and they got nothing out of it. You get it? Who's had that experience? Everyone. You know what I mean? So we want to go to all these different churches, and then over your stay in Shalom, hopefully you find a church that suits your style of worship, that suits the style that you want the word preached to you. And then when you leave, hopefully you'd call that church your church. You know what I mean? But we don't only just go to all these churches to give you an opportunity for you to find faith. We use those churches for you to reintegrate and to re-socialise. When you look at geeks, they project an image that you perceive that they're normal. But it's not until you start having conversations with them that you find out that they're ex-prostitutes, or they're ex-drug users, or they've got kids and they've been through trauma and they've been raped, or they've moved from one country. And when you start having conversations with people at these churches, the church isn't perfect. It's just all these people who need rehab. But all these people project an image that you perceive that they're normal. But when you start having conversations with them, you find out they're just as screwed up as what you are. But it's great that you go to these churches. You're not supposed to stay together as a group. You're supposed to mix and mingle. And none of you are supposed to sit with each other. So hopefully the day leaders are doing their job. And you learn to have conversations with normal people. And when you realise that they're just as screwed up as what you are, it helps you to re-socialise and reintegrate and back into the community. And when you do that for 1 month, 6 months, 12 months, bit by bit, who remembers when you first went to your first church when you were in Shalom? Put your hand up. How uncomfortable was it? Felt like a fish out of water. But 6, 12 months later into the track, you just go in and it's normal. Who reckons it's normal now? It's normal. And you're not going in there by yourself. You've got 100 and something people coming behind you, who all come from your background. So you're not like me, got left posted for 3 years, having to go in there and be the only fish out of water. It's like reintegrate, re-socialise. If the message that the gospel of Jesus Christ has to proclaim is true, all of these mobs are trying to proclaim it in the best way that they know how, including myself. We're not trying to build a church. We're not trying to build I want you to plug in other people's churches, but the reason we go to 2 different churches is because we have all these different personalities, and I hope that you would find one that you feel comfortable with. But we need to give you opportunities for you to reintegrate and re-socialise, to get the lies that you believed out of your heart, that you are good enough, that you're not a weed, and that you can be like them, and they're no different to what you are. Get it?